Successful time. Okay, going live. Can somebody just like double check that this is working? Because I don't know if it's actually working or not.
I was loading first. Hey, you guys.
Yay! Yeah, that's exactly what I want. All right. Yeah, probably. Be a little distracting. All right, so we're gonna make this League of Legends game. Yeah, these are just some notes that I jotted down last night. But yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. Go pretty quickly through a lot of this stuff, but since I'm live streaming it, it should be on YouTube later, so you should be able to get that. All right, so we're doing Legends. We're going to be talking about nav meshes, which just like, I guess to gauge everybody's like how comfortable everybody is with Unity. Can you like raise your hand if you've used Unity before at all? So, okay. All right, who's like pretty comfortable with Unity? Okay, no, not a lot. Who's like complete beginners? All right, good. So, so like I said, this is gonna be. So we're gonna do a 3D game. So this is, by the way, this is like what comes up when you just start. At this, yep.
You're doing League of Legends live stream. What if people don't know what that is?
Oh, yeah, good point. So who here doesn't know what League of Legends is? All right, so League of Legends, it's a MOBA, which is like a massive online battle. The thing about this is I don't have that much experience with I don't have any experience with like multiplayer games. So what we're gonna having like the AI sort of move around the map. We're gonna set up the map, and then we're gonna set up like what areas are walkable, what areas aren't walkable, using what's called a nav mesh. And then we're gonna set up some behaviors for like the minions, which obviously it's only an hour like workshop. I'm actually very broad simplification. So you start down here, or you start up here. You start places. For this game, we're just going to start down here, and then you can choose like a lane to go in, and generally, so you have minions, which are like little like enemy creatures that go down the lane in waves. So we're going to simulate that, and then you have your character, and you can walk down here and then target the enemy minions and kill the enemy minions. Eventually, you get to a turret. So we'll see if we get to the turret part, but for now, we're just going to worry about getting the minions to come out in waves and start attacking. And that'll be like the goal of the workshop. Sounds good? All right, cool. And so here, I'm just going to add an asset package. Standard assets. This is probably gonna take a while, but standard Unity assets into our project. Those sort of things include like terrain textures and a character controller, and then immediately have like a first-person character, sort of like what you'd see in an FPS game, walk around. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with the standard assets that allow you to make something simple without using a lot of programming. But don't let that make you think that Unity is not a full game can do all of the things that you would want to do. So like, yes, there's a lot of things that you can download from the store and get something up and running quickly, but you can definitely go in there with the code and make some really intense algorithm that's going to do something really fancy. A second for this to load, but yeah, any like initial questions or anything? Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as
obviously, there's a lot that goes into making a game. So when you say the 2D assets, there's 3D assets, there's like audio, technically like the terrain, if you're just using Unity.
So they're just kind of like
Yes, yeah.
Specifically the like sensory side of things, like sound or.
Generally when people talk about assets, they're talking about art assets, so like music or like 3D models or 2D images or sprites. Make it work. So yeah, good question. And so for anybody who doesn't know what Unity is, does anybody not know what Unity is at all? Everybody's big idea. All right. So Unity is a game engine. There's a lot of different ways you can make video games. Sometimes people will use just plain like Java or JavaScript game engine, really, with those sort of vanilla, like plain tools. And that can definitely you can definitely make simple games with trade-off, like the less the tools have, the longer it generally takes to make something. It is sort of like this big library of tools that's presented in the form of like a visual editor. So you can actually like scene and drag and drop objects. It works on what's called an entity component system. So it uses a component design pattern. It's component composite. I don't know. But it uses this design pattern basically where you have this game object by what's called a game object. That's important. And each game object has components attached to it. So you could have an empty game object to it that does a bunch of things. So, like for example, spawns minions, and so yeah, we'll go on. But at least we're not dead in a tornado. Go ahead.
So you were a gaming major? Sorry.
No, so yeah, I'm a computer science graduate student. But the last couple of years, I've been like really focusing on game development. And I'd say computer science is definitely like everything that you learn in computer science. If you're a computer science major, that's definitely very relevant to making games. So it's just a lot of the things. So like for example, if you've taken an algorithms course, like we're going to use nav mesh agents, which are going to use like a version of a graph algorithm to find their way around the scene. And if you've taken any sort of like AI course, which they course here, it's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. So you remember A star?
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what algorithm the Unity nav mesh agents use, but it's like a version of A star.
So like the architecture of how Unity creates a game. Okay, I know it's probably customizable, but
okay. Yeah. So Unity is built on top of OpenGL, and so OpenGL is sort of like, so I was talking about like you have like your vanilla libraries, whatever, like C++, which is like pretty basic, like it's pretty low level as far as you can get, or you have C. I don't know if it's using C or C++, probably C++. So you have C++, and then you have OpenGL, which is like it's a graphics library, open graphics library. Specification actually it's like implemented by different companies, but you have OpenGL, and that uses like the graphics card to like it basically like takes the vertices and stuff, sends them over to the graphics card's vector. So like that on like the lowest level, that's sort of like what's going on. Yeah, sorry this is taking so long. I should not have clicked standard assets because like I said, there's like a lot of sub packages in there. I think it's just important. Yeah, so it's using OpenGL. And then on top of that, there's like a bunch of tools. Like Unity is huge. It's got like a lot of different tools. Yeah, like it's got like a whole animation package, like all sorts of stuff. So, yeah.
I mean, like, so like with the, if you're working in like .NET framework, working on a web project, you click start and it opens up like, right?
Yes.
And then you can navigate through however you want through there in a bunch of different ways. It's like, what's the process of like once you build something, how does it interact with itself, right?
Oh, so you can actually, so Unity, you can build to like different platforms. So you can build for like web player, Android, iPhone, or like PC, Mac, so all these different platforms. And once you build, it like generates that exe or HTML platform. So it's actually very easy to get started. Like,
you can just build a exe and then put the exe.
Exactly. Yeah. And it works on something called scenes. So you like save your scene, and then you have to add that scene to the build, and then when it builds that exe or whatever, and it loads the first scene that you've added to the build in the like that's the first. It's loaded.
The main menu.
Yes.
And then like the first level would be.
All right, is this it? Please be it. Please.
It's really important for that stack bar.
Actually, probably the Wi-Fi, because I think that it's downloading this. Okay, it might be done. Yes. Okay. You'll see once this loads, it's going to be like super fast. We're going to get this up and running in no time. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to make this terrain. And so quick overview over here, these are our game objects. These are the components that I talked about. And down here, this is the console project folder. This is like all their stuff in our project. I'll just close out of this that for now. But yeah, this is our scene view. This is our game view. This is what it looks like from the camera's perspective. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go get started. There's a lot of tutorials out there about like how Unity works, so I'm just gonna sort of skim over that part. All right, so we got this terrain. First thing, I guess, probably should figure out the scale. So I'm gonna go over here to settings. Okay, it's 500 by 500. That sounds fine. I'm gonna just download this. Just so we have something to base this off of. Okay, just make a new folder. Call it underscore images. Reason why you do the underscore is for the menu, because it's organized like alphabetically. So that's just for organization. So I'm just going to go here. Okay. I probably didn't need to download it actually. this. Okay. So the terrain, so this is all right. So this is the reason why we imported those standard assets. We're going to add some textures here that we got from the standard assets, and I'm just going to add some grass textures. Yep. I'll add that, and that should make this grassy. I'll add a new texture. And this one's just going to be like rocks or something. Or like mud. I don't know. Mud, rocky. That sounds good. All right. I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to do my. Perfect. So let's see. That looks good. I'll do that. I'm going to add another texture actually. So yeah, just sort of defining where the starting position is. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. That would be pretty useful. But yeah, actually no. But yeah, this looks there, that could be a lane.
When you download that imagery, you could have overlay it with 26 or whether you do that.
I was thinking about using the image to sort of like basically I was planning on putting it right over this and then drawing like, but I don't know how to do that like off the top of my head, so I figured I'd just skip that. But yeah, that would be pretty cool. But that would take like a couple minutes to get set up, and I want to get through this. So that looks more or less like the map. I could believe that was a map. And the reason why I'm doing it like this is because I'm going to go back over this and sort of define the height. So I'm actually going to bring this in a little bit.
So you like bring basically.
Yeah, I'm just painting the textures on the ground because that's going to help me out in the next step, which I'm just about ready for. All right, so here we go. We got this ground. And what I want to do with it is just, let's see, make that river area. What I'm going to do is, it says it's 600, picture like a big cube that's like the area, the possible area of the terrain. And so here I could like, I can make it higher. So that's like making the terrain higher, but I can actually make the terrain lower. Oop. Oh. Where's the terrain? Where did it go? There it is. Okay. I can't actually make the terrain lower though because it's placing it at the bottom of that 600 unit cube. So what I need to do to fix that is flatten it at 300, which is going to place it at the middle of that cube. And what that's going to do is going to let me paint downwards here. So I'll be able to actually bring this down a little bit. So you get that like river that you see in the middle of the map. We'll actually get to programming, so don't worry, we'll get to programming. I don't remember if there's any other sort of terrain features. So I'm just gonna add like a little bit of noise here. That's a little bit too much. I'm just adding a little bit of noise just to make it a little bit more interesting. And so I'm using this brush over here that sort of like going to make the terrain a little bit uneven. And then we're going to go in and add some trees. Also, I think in the standard assets, there's a water thing. So I might be able to get some actual water in here, which would be nice. Perfect. All right, so now we got water.
Is that just like a water line? Anything below that?
Yeah. This is basically just a disk that they gave you gave us in the standard assets. That's going to let us make water. It's just like one of those things that you can just drag in, and it just works. So it's pretty nice. There's like some controls down here. This is the material. So it does let us change some properties. There's other types of water that are a little bit nicer. Unfortunately, this one doesn't really let us, okay, so I changed it to the standard material. So this might let us make it transparent. Let's see if this works. Yeah, okay, good. So we can make it a little bit transparent. That looks a little nicer, I think, yeah. Maybe a little darker. Yeah, that looks good. I can change the tiling here to make that a little bit more realistic. I wasn't really planning on going for like a super realistic game, but that'll work. Now for the scenes. The scene, by the way, is like it's configuration of all the game objects that you see in here in the editor.
Could you
over here, then when the player gets to that position, you can detect that using a trigger collider. As soon as it like enters that trigger, you can just be like, okay, load the next scene and place the character where it needs to be, considering. Okay, looks good. Now I'm going to import more assets. Hopefully this takes less time. Good thing about Unity is that it has a really good asset store. So there's like a lot of free assets that you can get. So we're just going to get assets for like the trees, some trees down. And that's help us with the navigation. But I guess, okay. Okay, and it needs to be free too, so. while this is while this is searching, I'll just go back here. You want to go to the window and then the navigation. Open the navigation window, and right here, this is going to be how we sort of define the areas that our nav mesh agent, which is going to be our minions, can walk on. So this terrain, I'm going to make, it says navigation static. That's what we want. But it's set to that by default. So here we're just going to do bake and then bake. Probably, but we should see what it looks like as soon as it finishes here. Okay, I don't think we need the trees right now. I think what we can do is, actually, yeah, wait, so we actually imported the trees with the standard assets. Yeah, okay. That looks like a good tree. I'll add that tree, and then we'll be able to start painting some trees on here. So okay. Let's see. I'll just make some designs that like our minions won't be able to walk on, or our characters won't be able to walk on. That looks good. I'll just like delete some of these. And then like some colliders. So this is going to sort of define the areas that our minions won't be able to walk on. Okay, it's not really responding right now. I don't know why. Okay, all right. So here we got cube. I'm just going to make this like really quickly, just sort of define areas that are going to be like blocked out. And don't worry, it won't actually look like that in the game. So that looks pretty good. So our character won't be able to walk on those areas. And now I'm going to take all those things and then turn off their mesh renderers, but they're still going to have this box collider. It's just convenient to like keep the mesh renderer on it so we can sort of visualize where they are if we wanted to. And then all of these things are going to be well, they're going to be static, but we specifically want them to be navigation static. There we go. There's our navigation. So we're going to clear that, and then we're going to bake it again. We're going to see that there's not going to be that blue stuff in these colliders. So while it's happening, I'm going to make a minion generator. This is where the fun part's. Bearing with me here. Actually, instead of doing that, make it cute. I'm going to do that same thing so I can just sort of visualize where everything is. This is where it gets fun. So let's actually change that scale down. I'm gonna create a new component, and this is where I'm adding a script. That's just going to be minion generator. Wait and add that. I think that my computer is acting a little slowly because I'm doing the live stream. That's probably part of the reason, because it's usually not this slow. It's usually slow. It's not this slow. But yeah, has anybody? So what? How's everybody feeling about like what I've been doing so far? Pretty good. Okay.
So is the Visual Studio something we already have? People are still coming.
That's I think that actually comes with Unity now. Does it? It does? Okay. Yeah. But you can actually change it if you want. If you're using like Visual Studio Code or like a different text editor, if you have that configured the way you want, you can also change it to use that. Visual Studio is pretty good by default though, because it uses like IntelliSense, so it'll like tell you what other functions and classes are available, which is pretty useful. All right, so finally, programming. This is what you were waiting for, I hope. Okay, so I'm gonna go pretty quickly. I got a game object. Think we can do this? Think we can do this in 10 minutes? I am confident. All right, so you got a game object, minion prefab, and then let's see. It needs to be a public game object minion prefab, and we'll just make a function spawn wave 1, and what that's going to do, it's going to start a coroutine this way, is because having to type start coroutine in every time I want to call it is kind of a pain. So we're just going to do this. We're just sort of like spawn wave coroutine, and what a coroutine is, it looks like this: IEnumerator spawn wave. Actually, I have to call this. This is going to let us do something over time. So we're going to spawn a minion prefab. Minion prefab. And it's a hierarchy, so it's going to be under this game object. So this to 0. So that's just going to mean it's going to be reset to the minion generator. And then after that, I guess we're gonna have to like add a component. But I guess that's going to be on the minion prefab already. So Yeah, I guess this is all we really need to do. Sorry, I'm just like doing this on the fly here. We need lanes, so we need public.
So are you creating just a minion spawner right now?
Yes. So there's going to be a separate script for the minions, which is going to move them.
So you're gonna have a separate minion spawner?
No. I think spawn 3 minions, have each minion a different lane. Yes. Yeah. So I think that I'm going to sort of like hard code it to 3 lanes. So we're going to do like public game object lane 1 or bot lane, right? And then mid lane, and then num minions in wave, right? I guess we can set that to like 4 or 5 because it sounds like a good amount. So, and now in this spawn wave coroutine, it's going to instantiate the minion prefab. So, okay, so it's going to do that. I think it should, there's going to be a minion script. There's going to be errors here, but I'm going to fix the errors. I'm going to set the lane to bot lane. So I'm going to do this whole thing. The bottom lane. Right? That makes sense, right? Yeah. And then it's going to wait. There should be a minion cooldown for like the delay time in between each minion that gets spawned. So I'll just put that being like half a second or something. That sounds right. Wait for seconds. Minion cooldown. So that way it's going to spawn a minion in the bottom lane. It's going to wait, then spawn another minion in the bottom lane. Wait, spawn another minion. For num minions in wave times. Coroutine. And I'll just change 1, 2, 3. So we have bot, and then we have mid, and then we have top. And this is probably pretty bad coding practices, but I'm just gonna like copy and paste this. I know, I hear the pain, but this is a hackathon, so I don't feel bad. Mid lane. Where? Oh, thanks. Oh, and also these need to be as soon as Visual Studio starts working. They can. Yeah. This is just going to be a function. So yeah, so it's going to spawn wave bottom, spawn wave mid, spawn wave top. So this just needs to be changed to the top. This minion prefab, which I like right now. Add component minion new script. Just make a new script here. Minion. And whenever it starts, I guess we need to define the bot lane, the mid lane, and then the top lane. It was simple. We're just going to name them the vertices here. So but like the path, you're gonna have like path points, and then you're just gonna sort of like follow the path points. To be honest, I don't know if this actually needs the navigation, but I mean the player would. I don't have time to get to the player, but hopefully we will. So okay, so bot lane is gonna go down here, and then go all the way up here, and then mid lane. Easy. Just this. Well, I'll just do this. There. Top lane. There. And then over here. 0, 1, 2, 0. Now in our minion generator, let's see. Oh yeah, first we need to actually have a lane on our minion. So public human object lane. So that looks good. And then you need like a current path point, which is going to be like 0 to start, and then it's going to go 0, 1, 2. So in our update function, we're just going to equals lane dot find transform dot per path point dot position. So that's going to do. That should find the correct path point we're at, which in this case, since it labeled it 0, 1, 2, it's going to find like 0. And then it's going to set the minion's position to that path point's position. But we need to make sure we have the next path points. It's going to be set initially. It's going to be we're going to set to a path point 0. We need to find the next path point, which is path point 1. So this is going to be like current path plus plus. No, I do not want to change statement keys. That position, and I'm gonna do something messy here. F dot min s 3, because that's how many path points we have, right? Or actually, no, I'm going to do per path point plus 1 mod 3. That's it. We'll do that. Because what that's going to do, it's going to very messily just loop around here. So current path point plus 1 mod 3 dot position. And that's going to be our next path point position. Okay. 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 Just trying to think about what's going on right now. So we need our next position, and we need the previous position, and then we need to like interpolate between the two. Our previous path point position is just going to be that. And then we need to like interpolate between them somehow. So, I mean, it's after 2, so if you have to go, it's fine. But I'm going to keep going on this. So So we got the previous path point position, is that, next path point position, and we interpolate, which we're going to use time somehow, but I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit too messy here. I probably should think about it a little bit before just going, but I could just, I could do mathf.lerp between the previous path point position and the next path point position. It's not mathf actually, it's vector t.lerp. Lerp is linear interpolate. Basically, it takes one position and then another position, and then takes like, if I passed in 0.1 here, it would take like 0.1 times 0.9 times the other position. So basically, it's like, but that's not really what I want. And I can run this just so you can see. I should just make sure first. So I'm just going to do here spawn mode. So mid lane and top lane. Now minion wave 0.5, minion cooldown 0.5. All right. Yay! All right. So they're spawning. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got the correct number of minions spawning. This is good. This is a good thing. No, they're just, well, yeah, they're just boxes right now. So yeah, they'll need to be. You can just make a like a child game object and then just set the 3D model or whatever to it, and that's how you would do that. Yeah. Cool. All right. And now if I put in the minion script here, if I uncommented this and then just say transform dot move them, but that's not going to be really what we want to do. But actually, I think no, it's going to keep moving it because is time.time here is going to. I want it to go from 0 to 1, and then from 0 to 1. So I guess what I could do is var t equals time.time minus int time.time. This is what I was thinking. All right, so what that's going to do is going to go from 0 to 1 and then 0 to 1. Basically, what we can do here is if t is greater than like 0.9, then if t is greater than, so basically, I'll just explain this line first. So time.time minus int time.time, that's just going to go like 0, 0.1, 0.2, dot, 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 and then like eventually 0.1. Or eventually 0.99999. So it's going to go from 0 to 0.99999 like a bajillion times. T is greater than 0.9, that means that it's like close path point. So we're going to be a cur path point equals cur path point plus 1 mod 3, because there's 3 path points. Yeah, so what's here they're gonna hit some sort of trigger collider, which is going to cause them to do a different behavior. So like right now they're doing this behavior, which could just be like walk up path or something behavior. But then once it hits that trigger, that's going to be like, okay, now start attacking the enemy, which is, sort of the next part. So so it's going to go. So this part right here, interpolating in the previous path point position and the next path point position. And then here, this is where it's like actually setting the to the position where it should be at. Lerp? Yeah, it should be no, and if it does, I think I know why it would do that, but yeah. I think right now actually the terrain is blocking it, so I just need to it's spawning them at this level, except it's a little it's underground. Yeah, so all right, so you need to so we need to change that. I should have put cubes on these things, but I can do that like that.
Is it automatically at all? Like, will the minions automatically just stand up and like walk out of the line? Or do you have to automatically do it?
So okay, so what I do like later developing this game is I have these path points right here, 0, 1, and 2. If I wanted to be really see, I could make some sort of like line that just shows up in the editor that that makes it a little bit easier to see this path. But what I would do is I would raycast down from that position. So from this position right here, raycast down to the ground. And then I would I would set a nav, but it looks like it's finished. So I would raycast down on the terrain, and then I would set that point as like a destination for my nav agent. And then, which would be the minion, would then walk its way over there.
That isn't like specifically blocked off.
Okay, if it's lerping, it's just going to go in a straight line to the next point. Yeah. So if I instead of lerp, so if alternative to lerping would be to do that thing with the raycasting. So here it would raycast down, get that point, and then set that as a navigation destination. And that's like an alternative. So if it's a navigation destination, then if you have, as long as you have the nav agents and the nav, like what's navigation static and everything set up correctly, at that point it should be able to pathfind a way to that place. So this needs to be kinematic. So Unity, it just, in order for things to move correctly, they need to have a rigid body attached, even if you're like directly specifying where it's moving. So that should be it. Let's see. So this is the minion. All right, I'm gonna apply that, disable this, play it. Fast. Whoa. Okay.
But they move. That's the important part.
They do move. Yeah, I think they're skipping a point though. Yeah, they're skipping a point. I think that it's, yeah, okay. I think that
it should go back to 0 rather than back to 0 or back to 1, right?
So it's linking all the way to 0. So it's saying 0, 1, 2, you go back to 0.
Where is that?
That's why it's the full triangle.
0, 1, 0, 2. 1. I think because it's 0.9. Oh, okay. Okay, I think I know how to fix this. So basically the problem is that it's t is equal to like 0.93, and then at the next up, and so then it's incrementing it, but then at the next update, it's at like t is equal to like 0.94, and so it's updating it again. So it's not doing anything to reset t at this point. So in order to fix that, what we can do is we can just have like this up here, float t equals 0, and then t plus, or t equals t time dot delta time. And so what that's going to do is it's going to update t to be like consistent with time. And then we can do that same thing where t minus equals int t. And with that, that'll do the 0 to 1 thing. And then here, if it's greater than point, and that should work, I think. But so that's just going to be if it's like 90% of the way there. But maybe we could change it so it's greater than or equal to like 0.95 or something. I'll also change the speed too, because that's a problem. So t plus times delta time. At this point, I'm also going to do t times equals speed, I think. And I'll just do speed. Yeah, see you later. 0.1. Let's do like that. All right, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Is there might be a script. Yeah, there must be a script attached. Yeah. I'll just remove that. Okay, that should fix that error.
You adding something to the apply.
Oh yeah.
I know that when you apply something, you can go back and change it. So when you go back and change stuff, you can apply it.
You can go back and change stuff. So here, when I click apply, Unity uses a prefab system. So it's like basically, honestly, the prefab system introducing like a better prefab of Unity that should go back and fix some things. Yeah, to answer your question, when I click apply here, that like propagates the changes to any other instances of it. Yeah, and it also updates this thing. So I have this saved right here as a prefab, and that's actually what's being. I can go here and I can disable it after I've applied, and that won't affect this object down here. So this should hopefully make it so they're slightly slower. Oh, okay. Not exactly what I wanted. Okay. Strange. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Actually, I don't know why. Oh, it might be everything. Let me try running it again. Because when you make things public, they should show up in the inspector. Oh, huh. Yeah, when you make things public, oh yeah, no, there's the speed. So if I change the speed to 1. Okay, so it's doing this correctly, I guess. Oh, it's setting it to 0, but it's not updating the pathway. That's really weird. Oh, okay. These need to be calculated after this. That's like my first idea about how to fix that. One, two, zero, one. Oh, well, actually, yeah, that does make sense because this is the mid lane. So this is the bottom lane. That looks like it's working. Yeah. I am a little confused as to why. Oh, I think actually I'm handling the going from 0 to 1, so I don't need that minus int thing. I think that's the problem. I think that should be the only problem actually. I don't think it's anything else. Okay. Yeah, that's like a really weird problem. Like it's fine when it's 1. It's fine when it's 2. Like 0.2, 0.3. Huh. Any ideas?
He's not a computer science person. So he's had one coding class in his life, I think. C.
Well, it's cool to use Blender. I learned a little bit of Blender.
Blender is really cool. It's not intuitive.
Not at all.
It's catastrophic every time we do something.
It's like basically in there. Like the lines there. There's no tutorials.
Yeah.
I basically like watched a lot of YouTube videos and like.
It's like Control Alt Shift T. That's 1, and then Control Alt T is 1, Control T is.
Yeah, I went back to try and use it again. It's like any of the hotkeys now. It's like yeah.
I wrote a cheat sheet. So everything that I use more than once, I wrote it there. I think it was SolidWorks stuff. So engineering.
Okay.
Stuff. So that designed.
Nice. Yeah.
SolidWorks to me is uniform, everything has a set scale, scale dimensions, and then Blender is like, eh.
There's like this new thing. It's called Eevee. It looks very cool. It basically turns your editor like to look like that, to like look like what it. And there's like no delay. Like yeah, it's basically because like. But like Blender doesn't really have that, so like I guess this is like this major leap forward.
Yeah.
But it's not out yet. Like, I don't know. They've been like I heard which is fine, but yeah.
And then realize that it didn't fix the problem.
So I don't know what's going on with this. So I guess I can like change this to be public, so I can see what's happening. So okay, so it's being updated here. So t equals t plus. What if I do t equals t plus? Oh. What if I do this times speed? I think that might fix some problems. Yeah. Okay. I think that was it because I was multiplying it after I was adding that, and I think that was probably it. That's it. That's the one.
There you go. Yep.
Perfect. Kind of snaps right there.
Yeah,
We can
around
just.
the corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in reality, it would be defining it as a linear operation, kind of path to follow.
Yeah.
So it would be so rigid and
Nice. Yeah. And actually, at this point, so right now, it's like basically this right here is what's moving it forward. So like right before this, you can do like a raycast check. Basically, this could be abstracted to like a move for target, and then start attacking the target.
did you say it was stopping at the corner of the leg?
Yeah, right there.
Is that because of the point on top? So
Yeah.
is that-
Yeah, I think this is gonna. I think that was I mean, a lot of the stuff is like very similar to animation and like just like there we go. That fixed it. I can make these like a lot bigger, so it'll look good, and then there. Looks good. And then I'll make like a material. I'll call this your enemy or minion map, I should say. Red. Put that on there.
That was a little bit more. Way too good about it. Yeah, a little more.
There we go. Aha. There we go. And now I'm gonna make something that just at the end here destroys them. So this is a minion generator, and then I'll make a minion destroyer. This should be pretty quick. So instead of destroying them, actually, it probably would change their behavior. But like for now, I'll just keep that being like destroying them. Destroyer.
Here it says, there's only one way of each lane at a time, right?
Mm-hmm. So I'm doing that by calling this this spawn wave function. So in here in the start, I can just change this to start coroutine, start spawning waves, and then here I just do enumerator start spawning waves, and that could just spawn a wave. But while true, it'd spawn a wave, and then it could, yeah. And then that would just be your wave cooldown time. in between each minion, and then this is going to be your wave cooldown in between each wave. Probably should be like 10 seconds, or maybe like just testing it. That sounds right. Basically, there's this function, one trigger enter. Just basically like it's gonna be called as soon as something enters that trigger collider. So we're gonna try and get a minion. A minion. If the minion component exists on the collider that entered it, we're going to do destroy the game object on the other.
So the way you wrote that, as a player, you want those games to be able to keep them into.
Yes. Yeah. I think it'll work. Sometimes there's like issues with like you set this as a trigger, but the other one you didn't set as a trigger or something like that. I think there won't be an issue with this. There's our first wave. There's our second wave. It should just keep spawning. Yeah. And as soon as it gets inside this thing right here, except for that one. Yeah.
It's just because the location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's the top lane. So yeah, I'll just move this in here. There you go.
Yeah. Well, neat.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good stopping point for now. I'll stop that stream going on. I don't know if anybody was commenting. Oh, well, I think I did that.
You did.
All right. Yeah, this resets actually every time that you stop it. So just to do that one more time.